The awful damage and death toll in the devastated area, that is indeed a woeful sight. And our 20,000 homeless, we are all caring for them. And the numerous blinded people, and the little children. A sight of any of these would depress the tenderest soul. My school is full of coffins now, and all boarded up.
Arthur Lysmer was an artist and an educator, and would later become a founding member of the famous Group of Seven. At the time of the Halifax Explosion, he was the principal of the city's Victoria School of Art and Design. On the morning of December 6, 1917, Arthur Lysmer was late leaving his home in Bedford on his daily commute to Halifax.
I missed my usual train and stayed at home for a later one. The first time in many weeks, so escaped. Some who took that train didn't.
When Lysmer arrived in Halifax, he found the art school shattered with every window broken. Arthur Lysmer was one of tens of thousands of people affected by the Halifax explosion. In the weeks that followed, he and other artists and photographers recorded the wreckage of the city. As a witness to the disaster, Lysmer produced a series of sketches depicting its devastation. Visual records like these sketches, along with photographs, were circulated across Canada and the world through newspapers, books, and postcards. They were an important way for Canadians to see the effects of the Halifax explosion. A sketch is an interpretation of reality created by an artist. Like other evidence, including photographs, a sketch reveals one person's perspective on an event or a moment in the past. Evidence like this can give us important clues that help to understand the perspectives of people who lived through the event. How can an analysis of Arthur Lysmer's sketches provide a deeper understanding of the aftermath of the Halifax explosion? There are 5 key steps to analyzing primary sources. The 5 W's: context, exploring, reaching conclusions, and finding proof. Consider the 5 W's. Who is the artist? When and where was the art created? Why was it created? What is depicted in the art? Arthur Lysmer was born in England in 1885. He emigrated to Canada in 1911, working as a commercial illustrator in Toronto before moving to Halifax. 3 weeks after the explosion in Halifax Harbour, the Toronto-based Canadian Courier featured several of Lysmer's sketches depicting the devastation caused by the blast.
In response to a long-delayed wire from the Canadian Courier, these quick-fire sketches were made on the spot. They were finished on a desk of coffins. They tell the story better than photographs. The camera is a machine. It feels nothing. The artist puts into his impressions himself, as he was powerfully affected by the heart-rending scenes he depicts.
Shortly after, in 1918, more of Lysmer's sketches appeared in a book entitled The Drama of a City. The sketches featured in the book and in the Canadian Courier helped illustrate for the nation the story of what happened following the explosion. Consider the wider context of the Halifax explosion. Do Arthur Lysmer's sketches represent a common experience for people living through the aftermath of the disaster? Support began to pour into Halifax within hours of the explosion. Trains from as far as Boston, Massachusetts, arrived with medical personnel and supplies to help treat the wounded. Relief stations were set up to provide those in need with clothing, food, and medical supplies. Thousands of people were left homeless and relied on community support and external relief in the weeks that followed. Churches and theaters were transformed into shelters, providing emergency housing for survivors with nowhere else to turn. People of different ages, genders, ethnicities, and religions were killed and wounded in the explosion. However, the working-class neighborhood of Richmond was the most devastated area in Halifax. Many children lost parents, and many parents lost children. The explosion marked a significant loss not only for individual families, but also to the larger community. To what extent do these sketches represent the broader context of the Halifax explosion? Explore the details of the sketches. What is going on in these images? Looking closely at a sketch can offer clues about the perspective of the artist as well as the event itself. Consider the choices Lysmer made as he created this sketch. A man carries a wounded woman. Buildings lie in ruins. A black sky hangs overhead as soldiers carry the wounded away. A woman covers her face, reaching out, as a soldier looks on in the background. Bodies scatter the ground, wounded or worse. Each sketch tells a story. Consider how different people are depicted. Why do you think that Lysmer chose to sketch the scenes he did? And what might that tell us about the event? As you analyze sketches within their wider context, develop a conclusion based on what you observe and what you can infer. What does this evidence suggest about Arthur Lysmer's perspective as an artist and survivor? What have these sketches revealed to you about the aftermath of the explosion? One person's perspective provides us with a small slice of the past. To develop a deeper understanding of how people experienced the Halifax explosion, we must take multiple perspectives into account. Compare Arthur Lysmer's sketches to other primary sources. How do the other sources confirm or refute your conclusions about Lysmer's experiences after the blast? Over time, countless memories, stories, and traces are lost, resulting in voices from the past being rendered silent. The primary sources that remain shape our understanding of history. We can only work with the evidence that survives. For a historian, this means there is rarely a complete picture of the past. More often, we are given a window to look through, a glimpse into the bigger picture of history.